Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Rotor Talk Live, Season 9, Episode 8, DJI sues FCC over flawed blacklisting. Hope everyone is doing well this evening. We're going to check in here with everybody. Let's see, drone shots, Jody, CT Pirate, drone angles. Joe's here. Let's see who else we got. DD Fellows. Lauren is here. Welcome, Lauren. Let's see who else we got. Don Simpson, John Flynn, see who else? RJ Redding, Michael Wright is here. See who else we got. Boy, got a whole house here tonight. Greg Pittman is here. Waypoint New England, welcome, my friend. And Waypoint New England, thank you for stopping by on Wednesdays for my ham radio show. I really appreciate that. Let's see. Jaybird is here. Carlos Moran is here. Captain Ray is here. Casey Crime Fighter is here. Kana 7782 is here. All right. I know a lot of you got hit by this storm. It was a record-setting storm. I know. I've seen pictures of it up in Rhode Island. I think 36 inches of snow. If you were hit by the storm, drop in the chat how many inches of snow you got in the area that you lived in. I'm just curious, just to see. Just go ahead and punch it in there. I know Ron got some snow. He went out and about and showed us around there. And I got to say this, guys, okay? It was chilly. It got to 35 this morning in Florida. So, but you know what? I'll take that compared to what you guys are dealing with. No, thank you. No, thank you. Jaybird, that's a good thing. I'm glad you didn't get anything. That means, my sons and my daughter and son-in-law and granddaughters were okay. That's good. Absolutely good. Casey Crime Fighter, that's real interesting. I wanted to let everybody know that where I live, I have two Amazon distribution centers. I have one. I mean, I could almost throw a football and hit it. It's that close, probably about less than 3 or 4 miles away. And then there's another one about 20 miles away. But I am now given the option on some items. It's usually for an extra $2.99 to have a drone delivery. Now, they schedule them during the day, and I don't know what time it would be, but it did indicate where it would be. It would be in my side yard. And if you've ever seen any of the pictures of my house, and I've done some aerial shots before, I have a huge side yard. The side yard, it would be big enough normally to probably fit another house. That's how big our side yard is. All right. We don't really use it. It's not really usable. The ground is extremely rough over there. They just throw the sod down, that kind of thing. But it shows on a graphic where the drone will land, and it said it will land over in that area. And they said you can move the arrow around if you want it to land in a different area. So I'm going to try that probably like on a Saturday and maybe camp out for about an hour or so. Sit in my truck and watch, because I'm sure I'll hear the drone coming, because I'd want to film something like that and show you guys. So, and also, our shout outs to John Flynn. He got nominated for one of his videos. And John, congratulations. That's awesome. You do some great work. I know all you guys do great work, but it's great to see, John. It's great to see you getting recognized for your work. You really do a good job. You're very diligent. And please continue to post on Build a Drone Reviewer Facebook group. Those are fantastic. I enjoy seeing those. That's a great way. And by the way, guys, hint, if you want me to see your videos, chances are really good I'll watch them. If you post, maybe, just post it directly to Facebook, or if you post your YouTube link out on Build a Drone Reviewer Facebook group, chances are pretty good I'll catch a glimpse of them, because, YouTube doesn't really give notifications anymore, and I don't know why. they're just that's been absolutely horrible about that. Ron's going to join us here in a little bit. Absolutely, DD fellows, we're going to definitely do that. We're going to definitely do that. That's going to be fun here. Oh wow. Yeah, it's $2.99 for me, KC Crime Fighter. So so that's kind of where we're going with that. So but yeah, I'm could not be more pleased to have this opportunity. Okay. Guys, got a few things we're going to talk about, and then the main topic of the evening, after Ron joins me here in just a little bit. Yeah. The first thing is they did another update to the Osmo 360, and I want to go ahead and share that if I can here. Okay. All right. DJI Osmo 360 adds update, adaptive tone, better snow color. Okay. Roll out fresh firmware update for its 360, promising real-world improvements for creators. On the headline, additions is adaptive tone, a new processing feature accessible in panoramic video mode. Once enabled, the image audio parameters icon in the Mimo app, adaptive tone intelligently boosts contrast and depth in your clips, leading to richer, more dynamic footage straight from your Osmo 360. It's especially useful for content creators who want punchy, standout visuals without spending hours in post-production. That's interesting here. Alongside this creative upgrade, DJI has improved color rendering in snow scenes, a thoughtful touch that delivers more accurate tones and less washed out whites when shooting in bright, snowy environments. Whether you're documenting a winter adventure or capturing a high contrast landscape, this update helps ensure your 360-degree footage pops. This is all well and good. And I know Ron and I kind of addressed this a little bit last week. It really is intriguing, and I would probably be more interested in it. However, the problem with the 360 is, you guys know, I'm preaching to the choir. You're welcome, John. Absolutely. Absolutely. Hope you do well in that. One of the things, oh, wow. Waypoint New England. Wow. Holy cow. Oh, wow. Thank goodness you got power. Wow. I am so sorry you guys got that. Oh, that's great, Eye in the Sky Drones. If you want to publish that, that would be good. Please do. I think I've given you if one of the other moderators can give him a wrench, Eye in the Sky Drones. I'm trying to find. I can't find it in the regular chat here. You can give him a wrench, and once you get one, Eye in the Sky, you can go ahead and post that link. That would be good, or post a link out on Bill Jones Reviewer Facebook group. That would be fantastic if you could do that. I think people would really like that. I'm trying to find it in the oh, here we go. I'm gonna do that. Okay, Eye in the Sky. I made you moderator, so you can go ahead and post the link. If you could, that would be great for everybody to know that. That's very useful information. Thank you very, very much. Thank you very much. One of the things that, with this Osmo 360, I want to talk about this for just another second before we move on here. It sounds like it's getting better. They're doing a lot of improvements. They've really cut down the price, so they made it affordable. But the big thing is those lenses are not swappable. You can't, if you break it, that's it. It's toast, and you got to try to get it fixed. And Lord only knows how much something like that's going to cost. So, okay. This was another interesting article, and here's Ron.
Hello, Ron. Bill. How are you tonight?
Good. How'd you survive the storm?
Well, we got, they say the official thing here said we got 18 inches, but, it was easy to dig out this time because we didn't have the ice. We weren't capped by the ice that we had last time. So pretty much dug out here. We lost power overnight, Sunday into Monday, but I slept through the power loss, so I never, even experienced. But
yeah.
but yeah, good. Just long winter. We usually don't get these type of record-setting cold and snow, so kind of an adjustment for folks. But
yeah, I saw you out.
We had a couple teenagers come around today. They shoveled our driveway out, got our car out and everything. So
good.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, I saw your video of you going out and about in the snow.
And that was like before I was early. What I got so many of, the one was this early, but then the one was just after it ended. How about you, Bill? I saw the weather in Jupiter was only like in the 60s today.
It was. We had it dropped down to officially 35 overnight. So was woke up this morning. I had an eye doctor's appointment early this morning, and it's just like I go outside. I said, I needed my jacket today. It was not shirt sleeve weather at all today. It got up into the 50s by the time I got back, but it was still quite chilly, and it was breezy.
It seems like Florida's unusually cool this winter also.
Yeah, it's been kind of an extended winter for us because usually by this time in late February, this cold weather has stopped in Florida, and usually the lowest it'll go is like in the 50s overnight. So
I mean, I arrived in Florida and like the end of like one of the last couple of days in February last year, and I arrived to like almost 80-degree temperatures.
Yeah. See, normally by now that it would start be heading in that direction. So, yeah, that's kind of like one of these. It's like, okay.
I mean, I was in Florida all March and half of April last year, and I don't think I called a cold day. I mean, I don't think I called a day it didn't get up to at least in the 70s.
Yeah, and it was like I said. Usually by this time in February, we're done with the cold. And it's the highs are in the 70s and the lows are in the 50s, and it's trending upward. But it had been trending pretty good. We had a few days that were 80 last week, but then this weekend it dropped. Sunday it took a nosedive, and they told us Monday's going to be chilly, and so will Tuesday, and they were right. It was definitely like that. Ron, I don't know if you saw this article, but this was out on Drone DJ, and it was about another use for the Apple Watch, and I thought it was real interesting.
Hey, real quick, Bill, in the chat they're asking where you are. Greg, Bill's in the Tampa area. Is that correct, Bill? You're suburban.
Yes.
Tampa?
Yes, I am in the Tampa area. And thank you for Eye in the Sky Drones. That link is for a DJI repair facility, Ron.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so if you guys definitely want to bookmark that. Thank you, John. I appreciate that. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Yeah. I haven't really taken a look at the long range here. Okay. This is interesting. How to control your DJI Osmo gimbal from the Apple Watch. And apparently there's an app to do this now, including the Osmo Mobile 6, Osmo Mobile 7P, Osmo Mobile 8, Osmo Mobile 9. All these 3-axis stabilized gimbals connect everything properly. Start shooting from your wrists and use Active Track for hands-free filming. Okay. This is all well and good if you're setting it up like they show in this video here.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're using your gimbal on a standalone, you can't use this as a standalone. Is what this is. This is if you've placed your gimbal down on a mounting system like this, and you want to move the camera around using your watch. That's basically what this is.
Well, just like the watch, you flying in what is the Neo drones or whatever, I think you have to have it in the air, and you have to have everything going before you can use the watch. So it's very limited capabilities. I have a confession. I haven't even tried to watch controlling the Neo drones yet. Now,
one of the things I can tell you about my watch is I have an app through Toyota where I can start the truck.
Right.
Using my watch.
Susan can too, and her tied on her watch. It fell
on her Highlander. Yeah. That's a nice feature to be able to do.
Oh, of course, the big complaint here is, Bill, that everybody says, why just Apple phones? What about Android watches?
Yeah. That's one thing that I've always said, and I'm digressing for a second. We'll get back to drones here in just a quick second. Is one of the things that I think Apple is light years ahead on is their watch. Okay. Samsung is still playing catch up with that, and they haven't. And it bothers the crap out of me because I needed a new watch last year, and it's still not to where, I wish I could pair an Apple Watch up with my Android phone because I love it so much. I would get one in a heartbeat.
And that's surprising it hasn't happened, because in the old days, remember, they made Apple iPods and stuff, work with Android, with Windows and Android. They weren't just Mac specific. You could use an iPod with any other operating system.
Yep, I remember that. That absolutely.
Before the days of phones, remember, we all had our iPods.
Yes, we sure did. Now, this is a real interesting article. And last week, I think you remember, Ron, we talked about Anzu Robotics and how they were having to curtail some things. And I'm getting ready to share a screen right here. Well, the state of Texas has decided to go ahead and sue Anzu over alleged DJI drone deception, meaning, they were masking these drones as being made in Malaysia, but they were really, in essence, being made by DJI. And it was definitely, it's, like a Mavic 3 Pro, except for the green. I mean, it was very recognizable. And they got very specific in terms of what they're going after in terms of the Anzu entered the market. Okay. The suit petition, like a technical teardown, investigators, independently security researchers, found that the Raptor T's internal hardware matches DJI Mavic 3 Enterprise. The firmware assigned and encrypted uses DJI's cryptographic keys. The remote controller appears to be a relabeled DJI RC Pro. Software components heavily rely on DJI's SDK. Perhaps most controversially, Texas alleges that DJI retains control of the root cryptographic keys used to sign firmware, meaning DJI could theoretically push updates or access systems on a foundational level. If true, that would directly undercut Anzu's claims that its firmware was independently developed and secured. Anzu had previously said its firmware was a custom snapshot housed on US-based servers and inaccessible to outside modification. The lawsuit claims technical analysis shows otherwise. The licensing question, and they got into that, data security and the CCP angle. U.S. agencies have previously warned that PRC laws give the Chinese government broad authority to access data held by Chinese firms. Texas argues that because Anzu's drones allegedly rely on DJI's firmware and encryption keys, they carry the same vulnerabilities that lead to DJI's placement on the federal restrictions list. Lawsuit also challenges Anzu's claim that your data is your data and that no customer data is shared with DJI. Texas contends the technical architecture, including firmware signing and DJI's priority technical support, creates potential pathways for access here. What this means for buyers, for enterprise and government customers, the implications could be significant. The Anzu drones are deemed functionally equivalent to DJI drones under regulatory definitions. They could face similar restriction, government procurement, and critical infrastructure use. Okay. This is not just a legal technicality. It affects police departments, surveyors, construction firms, and utility operators who may have purchased Anzu equipment believing they fell outside DJI-related bans. And then I'll kind of leave the rest of that article for you guys to read on your own. But
the important thing to remember here is this is the lawsuit here. It hasn't gone to trial. Anzu hasn't been found guilty. This is just an accusation at this point. And maybe, Bill, this will be a good trial for all drone users in a way, because all this stuff about the CCP and Chinese servers, whatever, but the government has been terrible at proving any of this in court so far. So if you're going to win a lawsuit, don't you have to prove some of this stuff beyond just
exactly?
Saying it? I mean,
exactly.
They need to show up with facts and pictures and diagrams that all this stuff's happening, right?
Yeah, we're gonna talk about DJI's lawsuit here in just a minute.
Yes.
But I wanted to go ahead and talk about this, and I think it was important.
Before anybody gets upset, I mean, I understand. This Anzu zone drone did seem like the Raptor did seem like a DJI Battery 3 Enterprise. It definitely has its roots in that or whatever. But I know, what's the gentleman's name that's the head of Anzu? You've had him on the show before.
Randall Warnes.
Randall Warnes. He always claimed that the software, was was completely their own software. Now, I'm not saying it didn't have underpinnings of DJI, maybe the SDK kit, but I think they use the firmware, the software that other people use. I'm not an expert in any of this stuff, whatever, but I don't think he ever contended that they didn't have any DJI, genes to the drone, just that the software was American software, made in America and kept in America, whatever. And I'm interested to see how they prove in court that he's wrong on that.
Yes, I am too. So that's going to be real interesting how that ends up here.
Hey, you know what? With the trial, I know he can't speak before, but if the trial is all said and done and all over, whatever, maybe we can ask Randall to come back.
That'd be interesting. Well, that somebody from Congress used the show that I had Randall on. Right. They used that footage actually, which it was very, very interesting here. So
Congress people watch this show.
Exactly here. Now, we've kind of come across the portion of the show where, this is going to be exclusively DJI. And the first thing that I want to cover right here.
We're turning to court TV, Bill.
Yeah, really here. Okay. Now, the first thing that I want to cover here was I took a screenshot off of Twitter and I posted this here out onto the Facebook group for you guys to see. I'll go ahead and share this right here. Now, I have not per se gotten an update on the Avata 360, but this is on the Pocket 4. This is a new picture that was released on the 23rd with a built-in LED floodlight.
Maybe you should get Evelyn Chan's message off the screen there. You see in the bottom corner.
Yes, thank you. Customizable C button and a rotating screen. Rumors point to a 50 megapixel 6K sensor and Pro dual lens. FCC filings hint at a February-March 2026 launch. And then it just talks a little bit about the Pocket 3.
What do you think of that light on top of it, Bill? That's something we've never seen before.
That's very interesting, Ron, because, my whole take on and from when I used the Pocket 3, I didn't need a light like that. All right.
You and I typically we do our filming outdoors, but apparently with a low light army, there's a lot of people that film mostly indoors.
Yeah, so that really is
indoors or at night, one or the other.
Very curious as to how that's on here. Now, they're kind of saying the same thing in terms of release for the Avata 360. I did see a few more pictures out there today of a box, and it was kind of grainy. So it really didn't look like it was AI, but I didn't want to show it to you guys because I was kind of on the fence about that. But I really think what we're going to see, I think you'll probably see somewhere after like March 10th to March 15th, somewhere in that kind of time frame. We'll probably either see a release then, or we'll probably start getting the teaser putting out from DJI at that point in time.
For which product, Bill?
The Avata 360.
I predicted last night on Drone Nation, and this is, I don't know of any inside knowledge, nothing, that maybe the Pocket 4 is coming first before the 360. Or
it could, Ron. The way DJI's been, we really don't know anymore. Because
the Pocket 4 rumors, leaks, and pictures, all that seem to be more consistent than the other products.
You're right. You are right.
I'm going just on the fact that leaks seem to be better and more consistent.
Ron could very well be right here, guys.
And DD Fellows points out in the chat, we mentioned this last week too, that Insta360 appears to have a Pocket 4 arrival. So also it would be in DJI's best interest to get their Pocket camera out before Insta360 rolls that out, especially if Insta360 has some features, something they don't have.
Right. And that's a great point because, Insta360 for all intents and purposes is the anti-gravity drone, and that's already been out. Okay. So there's no timing as far as
Insta360 actually makes more handheld camera products than DJI does.
Yeah. So there's really no, competition as far as like the Avata 360 and the anti-gravity because anti-gravity's been out. Okay. There's no getting something out there first.
It's been out, Bill, and I'm going to say people are going to get mad at me. It's been out and it's kind of flopped.
Yeah. And I'm
not saying it's a bad product. I'm just saying I don't know. No, I don't know. DD Fellows has it, but I don't know many people in the community that bought it, Bill.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm the same way because I have not come across a lot of videos and I've not seen a lot of people comment on it. I've not seen a lot of real true interest in it. Okay. So, and I think the more you're talking, Ron, the more you make sense that the Pocket 4 is going to come out first, because I think they want to jump the gun on Insta360 getting a pocket camera out. So stay tuned. And like I said, that time frame, I'm probably looking like second-ish, third-ish week of March. We'll either get info about it or there'll be a release about it, is what I'm thinking.
And Bill, it may be a little selfish on my part because I may be interested more in the Pocket 4 than I am the 360 drone or the Lito drones, because again, I'm not sure I need a 360 drone, Bill, and the Lito drones are just kind of their budget versions of current drones, so that doesn't do a lot for me either. But the Pocket 4, that may be something, that I can make more use out of.
Right. Now, for me, the thing that intrigues me about the Avata 360 is you can fly it like a normal drone. You don't have to have goggles with it. Okay.
Yes.
And I think that's going to appeal to a lot of people.
Yep.
And also, too, it's not like it's, with the Osmo 360, it's that the whole issue for me on getting something like that is not the processing, but it would be that, I mean, if you drop it and break it, it's toast. Okay. You can't swap out that lens. I mean, it's not replaceable.
Right.
Like the Insta360s are. So
not user replaceable.
Not user replaceable.
And of course, it'd be hard for you to send in a DJI, Of course, you know what, Bill? If you buy if you buy the extra clone of the Pocket of DJI's 360 camera, they say they'll replace the lens for you. They can do it because they're not DJI. They're just a copy of DJI. The extra, I believe, is the name.
Exactly here. Now, one of the other things that I wanted to talk about before we hit the main point of the evening is another DJI drone is on sale, and it's the Flip, and it's an incredible price. Okay, the Flip with two batteries is only $329.
No controller though, Bill.
There's no controller with this,
which is good for us people that have a collection of controllers already.
Exactly.
And Bill, why this is such a good buy is if you went on Amazon to buy batteries for this, they'd be $99. So you got it's $200 just worth of batteries here. So the drone's only $129, Bill.
That is a very good deal, Ron. And I think, if you've been thinking about it, this will be the time to go ahead and pull the trigger. I personally have not gotten it because for me, it's just too windy down here. And, all the situations that I would want to try to fly it in, I don't think it can handle the wind, to be honest with you. I really do.
And now the Neo 2's out, we kind of have a lot of functionality, in a Neo. We have more functionality in Neo 2, and the Neo 2's camera is better. So the Neo 2 may be a better choice.
Exactly. Okay. And
but now that this is so cheap, though, actually you could get this if you didn't need the controller. This is a better buy than Neo 2.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
You get the longer flight time, and this has the camera of the Mini 4 Pro, so you have a little bit better video and pictures, and you have a little bit better battery life than you would in a Neo series drone, Bill.
Exactly.
But again, you really couldn't fly this like the camera drone because, like you pointed out, Bill, those big inductive props really get caught in the wind. I've seen it many videos.
Yeah, and you can't go over 10-mile-an-hour wind with that. It's not going to work here. So we're going to go ahead and get to the main article here because there is a lot to talk about with this. DJI sues FCC over flawed ban on new U.S. drone sales, and I kind of want to dig down into this here now. Before we get started on all this, I think that's one thing that I have been saying all along, that DJI is not going to rest on its laurels with this, okay? They were not going to sit by idly and sit on their hands and say, we're losing millions of dollars because of this. We're not going to do anything. No, they were working on it. And I believe, with their legal department, they have to be top notch to work at a firm like DJI, all right? And if they're going to put a lawsuit together and they want to try to make it as bulletproof as possible, it's going to take time to do that. All right. You want to make something, when you do this, you want to go in with all your guns blazing. You don't want to leave anything behind. And I think that's what DJI did here with the teeth of this lawsuit. And we're going to go ahead and take a look.
And Bill, remember the one of the main things is a suit like this. You want to make sure your case winds up in a court that has the right judge and the right jury.
Exactly. Okay. Exactly. That's really important here. Okay. The petition targets a December 23rd, 2025 decision by the FCC to place the company on its covered list, a move that effectively bans the authorization and sale of all new DJI drone models here in the United States. In the filings, DJI argues that the FCC's decision is fundamentally flawed, the Global Times has learned. The company contends that the agency failed to provide substantive evidence that its products pose a genuine threat to U.S. national security here. Despite repeated efforts to engage with the government, DJI has never been given the chance to provide information to address or refute any concerns, the company said in a statement. Such action not only contravenes the principle of due process, but also may violate the U.S. Constitution and relevant federal laws. The FCC's December ruling was far-reaching, barring imports of new foreign-made drones and critical components. While the ban is not retroactive, meaning current owners can still fly their existing aircraft, it effectively creates a sunset for DJI's presence in the U.S. market by preventing the release of newer, safer, and more efficient models here. Number one, the Pentagon battle 2024 to 2025. The DoD designated DJI as a Chinese military company under Section 1260H of the National Defense Authorization Act. While a federal judge recently upheld the listing in September 2025, the court rejected several of DoD's specific claims, finding no evidence that DJI is owned or controlled by the Chinese Communist Party. Number two, the entity list. DJI has been on the Department of Commerce's entity list since 2020, which restricts its access to U.S. components.
And Bill, that's why we can't buy drones directly from DJI.
Correct. And the last one, patent litigation. Beyond national security, DJI has fought domestic legal battles, including a 2023 case where a jury ordered the company to pay $279 million in damages to Textron over flight control patents, a verdict DJI continues to dispute. By suing the FCC now, DJI is attempting to prevent the covered list from becoming its final nail in the coffin for U.S. operations. The impact of the FCC's decision has been immediate and visceral, okay? The agricultural sector has been particularly vocal. Many U.S. farmers rely on DJI's agri-drones for precision crop spraying, okay? Perhaps the most significant impact is on American law enforcement. More than 80% of the 1,800 plus state and local law enforcement agencies in the United States utilize DJI drones for search and rescue, accident reconstruction, and tactical overwatch. The lack of future software updates and replacement parts creates a technological cliff. If DJI fails in a legal category, these agencies may be forced to transition to more expensive, less familiar systems, potentially stretching already thin municipal budgets here. The Chinese government has framed the FCC's move as transparent attempt to stifle a successful global competitor. Foreign military spokesman Lin Jian recently called the U.S. to stop its wrong practice and create a fair, just, and non-discriminatory environment for Chinese companies. As the Ninth Circuit prepares to hear the case, the American drone industry remains in a holding pattern. The outcome will decide more than just the fate of one company. It will determine whether the U.S. can successfully build a domestic drone industry from scratch, or if it simply grounded its most essential tools in the name of security threat that DJI claims has never been proven. Wow. Okay. This is a lot to digest here, Ron, but, kind of want to take this in pieces here. All right. Let's go up here. We're gonna go up here, and I think this is the kind of the meat of the article here. The Pentagon battle, okay, and this is the whole reason right now that it is blacklisted. Stefaniak and all her cronies in Congress got together, including Senator Rick Scott from the state of Florida, and they crafted that bill in such a way that if nobody did anything, it was going to become law. All right, which I mean, it's just totally absurd. All right. DJI wanted and demanded to have have its security concerns reviewed, and nobody did it. No agency of the federal government did it. None of the three-letter alphabets have done that. Okay. And I think that's pretty important here. And I think that's probably the crux of their lawsuit. And I think they have a lot of standing on this. Okay. Number two,
no, Bill, have you ever heard of anything like that ever done in relationship to anything in this country? Not forget about drones. Any other business or anything can you think of ever in the history of U.S.? Have they ever put a thing where if nobody inspected it, something went in the law? I've never. Again, nobody's ever heard anything like that, right?
I agree, Ron. I agree. I've never heard of something like this happening. Where now, there's a provision where if a president vetoes a bill and Congress goes back and they revote on it and they pass it again, I think at that point in time, if it sits for 30 days, it automatically becomes law. So it's called a passive pass kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. That's the only thing that I know of that's kind of even close to that. Yeah. But this is unprecedented. Okay. Totally unprecedented. Now, number two, this Department of Commerce entity list, okay, with the Uyghurs, okay, that's been going on since 2020. Now, they've just really stepped it up the past couple of years and really enforced it to the point that it blocked, literally blocked.
It's about the time of the Air 3S is when they really started blocking everything.
It started blocking the Air 3S, and then the bottom fell out after that, all right? And it was real interesting because I still get an email about once a month because I have $175 in DJI credits out there, Ron, and I can't spend it. There's nothing out there to get.
Bill, you should have bought the Flip last year because the Flip was the last drone that was on the U.S. DJI website.
You're right. And then they talk about a patent litigation, which is something new. We really haven't been privy to this. And kudos to Drone DJ for getting this in the article here, especially this $279 million in damages to Textron over flight control patents. I remember, and this is several years ago, that DJI sued
Autel. They had a lawsuit over something years ago.
DJI sued Autel for stealing its patterns. Okay, like if you looked at the Autel X-Star Premium, all right, it was a Phantom 4. Okay, it really was. You looked, it was just orange. Okay, that was the only.
The other way around, though, I think Autel sued DJI over some other feature, like I don't know, return to home or something like that. They sued and won against DJI on some kind of a technology.
Yeah, and I don't know how all that panned out. I think they kind of washed out on that.
And would that be a case that was held? That would all be in China, right? That whole thing would have happened. Legal thing would have happened in China, right?
Part of that happened here in the United States.
Okay. Oh, because Autel, but Autel, they pretend to be an American company, but they really weren't, right?
Right.
Because they had offices here, they were really a Chinese company at heart.
Exactly here. So this is the crux right here.
And folks, I don't mean to be mean to Autel. I don't know if they were pretending. No. People assume they were an American company, even though they weren't. But let me say something about this. The case back into September that they lost this past September about basically the military thing. I guess it was the Pentagon or whatever, and it was a case where DJI lost, but the judge said that he admitted that they didn't really prove all the things, like say the Chinese military company and all that, but he deferred. He said, well, they didn't really prove anything. We just defer to what the military says in these cases. What DJI has to do is, well, first of all, if the government could have proved this Chinese military corporation, they would have done that in that trial then. So because they couldn't do it, they'll never be able to do it, right? That was their chance. So what the DJI has to do is find a court or a judge that won't let them get by on this. Well, we just do what the military says, even though they can't prove their case. They got to find because if they find one judge and jury that says no to this or whatever, then that'll take over until the government tries the next move to stop them. But But that's the point. The government could not prove this back in September. So what makes you think they're going to prove it this time around in the lawsuit?
Exactly, and that's the crux of this, Ron. Okay, is a judge has even ruled out. I mean, it said that it wasn't controlled by the CCP. Okay, he's ruled that. All right.
Well, he said that in his notes, but he ruled that
right. He ruled that,
but he put that in his notes that they
in his notes he had that in there,
yeah.
which is important, and I think that gives DJI standing in this case here because the crux of this whole case, and I like the way that they structured it. I'm not a lawyer, but I like the way they structured it is because they're referencing this in their brief, and what they're saying is there was a failure to execute. All right. In other words, the onus was on the federal government to go ahead and conduct these security reviews. All right. And by not doing these reviews, they automatically got on the blacklist. And what DJI is saying is, wait a minute here. Okay. You said that you were going to go ahead and do this. And if it doesn't happen, that it's automatically going to become law. And DJI says, wait, that's not kosher. Okay. You can't do that. You can't go out there and put this in a law, in a bill, okay, and say, well, if we just don't do anything about it, it's still going to become law. So you can't do that. And I
maybe
think
in this lawsuit they have going on now, they could force a lot of documents to be open, to examination that the government.
I really hope so. I really hope so because independent audits have shown on several occasions from I think it was Price Waterhouse or whoever. There was a Big 8 accounting firm that did an audit of DJI and it showed it as clean as a whistle. So that's why they were absolutely recommended. They said, we have nothing to hide. You can see here's everything. Okay. Source code. They showed them the whole 9 yards. Okay. And I know because I know several people that audited for Big 8 accounting firms, especially when they would come in to look at an IT place. They look at code. They get down to the nitty gritty. Okay. That you got to be real. I'd considered becoming an auditor for one of the Big 8 accounting firms for looking at code, but it required more education, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. But
we know DJI, even the servers that their data gets sent to Amazon servers in the U.S.
Exactly. Okay, so it's all out there. All right.
And plus, for a couple of years now, DJI has that software. You could turn off all you could have it never connect to the internet. Anybody can go in and just say, click the buttons not to connect to the internet anymore. So if you got sensitive data in your drone or anything, if you just don't want any server getting your information, just turn off the data and stuff on the drone. The drone won't connect to the internet anymore.
Ron, I thought that was permanently disabled. Am I wrong about that?
Well, not that I know of. I
thought there was something that was disabled about that. So, but you're right. It may be like that. I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember.
Well, before the next show, I'll get a drone out and try it again.
Yeah, I'm going to try that too because I'm just kind of curious. But really, I really think DJI has some favor with this here, and I really think this is they're gonna really raise some eyebrows here. And if that, like you said, if they get the right judge, if this goes before the right judge and a good impartial judge,
and jury, judge and jury, yeah.
Or I think DJI can find some favor with this. And like I said, there was too much money for DJI to lose over sitting down and doing nothing here. Okay, don't know stats. Obviously, none of us know what the stats are regarding DJI sales here in the United States and how much we comprise of total DJI sales. I know we're not the number one. Maybe the European Union, UK is, Asia is. I don't know. Okay, but it has to be a significant amount of money. All right, they have
Bill. Unofficially, you go on YouTube. There's more drone videos made by Americans than anything else.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so that should kind of give you a clue as to the kind of sales that DJI does here in the United States. And at one time it's in every Best Buy. All right. And Best Buys are everywhere. All right. When there wasn't the blacklist. So this is something we're going to pay attention to. We're going to watch. and really have our ears to the ground and listen to this, because I think this is going to be really important here on how
And
we
Bill, this is the
proceed.
type of thing. This case could go. We could still be talking about this case next year.
This is true. It's probably gonna take a while for this to happen here. But I think if DJI is smart, what they're gonna do, and this is just some conjecture here, they could petition the court to put a ban on the blacklist, okay, until this gets resolved. So they could end up reversing that decision, and also to the Commerce Department's decision with the whole Uyghur situation about drones being held up coming from China just because of the Uyghur situation, which has been proven to be false. They don't use them for forced labor. So, let's get some cards on the table here. But I think if DJI is smart, is they'll ask the judge for a temporary or an injunction until they rule on this to stop the blacklist and let things proceed here in the United States.
And Bill, talk about the Uyghurs again. The thing is, even if DJI wins this case or whatever, we still, new drones could come through. We still couldn't get those drones with DJI because the Uyghur thing. So we really almost the first domino needs to fall is to get them off this entity list and get this whole Uyghur thing out of the way. Because at least that happened. At least you could order your Mavic 4 Pros, your Mini 5 Pros, whatever, directly from DJI again and get your camera fresh back.
Yeah. Well, and John, I'm really hoping for that this will go before. I have no clue about the 19. I think it's
John. I hope they hold the case in New Jersey, and I'm picked to be a juror. I mean, be a juror.
It's the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit. So if any of you want to drop that into Chat GPT and do some investigating on that,
Bill, wouldn't you love to be on that jury?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, Ron, it may not be a jury trial. It may be a judge trial. So
but lawsuits are usually jury, right?
It depends.
No?
It depends. Okay.
Do we have any lawyers in the chat here?
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know. I think it all depends.
I doubt any judge is going to suspend this ban until the case is over. I think that. I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't think any judge is going to.
Well, it wouldn't hurt. In my pea brain, it wouldn't hurt them to go ahead and at least petition the court to do that. All I can say is no.
Yeah.
So go ahead and get that out there at least, and know that the pressure is on. And I think that's something that they need to do. So we'll find out here.
Yeah, but no, I agree. DJ, keep the pressure on. Keep one go every legal step or whatever. Of course, folks. The only problem is our tax money you are paying for the government to defend this case.
Exactly. Okay.
So our tax when you pay your taxes this year, if you haven't already paid them, you're funding the government's attack on DJI.
Yeah,
unfortunately,
I haven't done my taxes yet, so I don't know. So we'll kind of cross that bridge when it comes to it. But
hopefully, I got a refund, so I won't be funding them.
I think I'm going to be heading in the refund direction. Kind of want to close things out on a couple of notes. One, I want to thank Johnny Drone Flyer for talking about Evelyn Chan, and I sent her a list of items that I want to go ahead and order. I think she may have sent me an invoice on PayPal, and I'm going to let you know how that process works out. But I was very impressed with the number of products and the pricing that she offers out there. So stay tuned for that. That's coming up. And then also too is there's no Steeler Nation, there's no Super Bowl Nation, there's none of that. But I did want to have a wonderful shout out to Team USA for both the women and the men. First time ever in history, both winning the gold at the same time in hockey. And a hearty congratulations to both the men and the women for doing that. And also too, okay, I want to see if I can find this here. I think this is kind of epic here. Let's see if I can bring this picture up.
Well, Bill's love his history. We do actually have the NFL Combine going on right now. Oh,
that's true. That is true. Let's see here.
And you don't have your old coach Talman. He used to say he tipped his hat at the combine. He would gush all over the players he wanted, so people knew who he wanted to draft.
Yeah, that was horrible.
Or Belichick, he wouldn't even talk to somebody that he wanted to draft because he didn't want to tip his hat.
Let's see here if I can bring that up. I'm trying to find that picture here. Hang on.
Will the NHL get started back soon now that the Olympics?
Yeah, they're going to start tomorrow night. The Panthers will be starting Thursday night. Okay. As far as I know. Let me go ahead and I'm going to bring this up on Facebook here.
Joe Nick, you talk about FedEx files a tariff lawsuit. Do you think the prices of drones will drop a little bit now that the tariffs are well, they're different?
Yeah,
now.
Well, they're even contending
China, they're paying less tariffs now with the 15%.
Yeah, I did see that. So, see if I can. Oh yeah, here we go. All right, now. This is all being done in good fun, in good clean fun here. I'm kind of prefacing this. Let's go ahead. Yeah. All right. This is for all my friends up in Canada here. Okay. This is a bucket of Canadian tears because I'll tell you what, Ron, I have never seen, all right, somebody complain and whine more than Team Canada. Okay. And I'll talk about the game here for a second. Connor McDavid had a breakaway and did not score. Macklin Celebrini had a breakaway and did not score.
Are these Canadian players, Bill?
Yeah, these are Canadian players. Team Canada had a 2-man advantage and did not score. Nate McKinnon had a wide open net to shoot at and did not score. Their head coach, John Cooper, who I have choice words about, disdained. He said it shouldn't be a 3-on-3 format. Okay. Well, the game before was a 3-on-3 format against Finland for Canada, and that's how. And they won in that Team Canada won to go to the gold medal game. So, it was kind of like, which way do you want it here? And just I've seen nothing but. And somebody put this other comment out there too, is. There's more salt coming from Canadian fans than there are out in the waters of the ocean. Okay, and one of the things I got to say is this, Ron, is
were the Canadians favored to win the game, Bill, of the series?
Yeah, they were favored to win the game, and the game itself was, the goaltender for the United States stole the game. Okay, Connor Hellebuck. Well, my wife and I watched it, and I told her, I said, I don't think I've ever seen a single greater game in Olympic history than what Connor Hellebuck did. The saves that he made were astronomical. They were insane. You couldn't teach this kind of stuff. I mean, he exercised a lot of demons from the NHL with his play right there. It was just exceptional the way he played, and he won the game for them. Okay, because they were all saying, Team Canada was saying, well, we deserve to win the game. I said, well, you know what? You missed those opportunities that I had just mentioned. And you also had the MVP of the series, okay, went to Connor McDavid because he scored the most points, not to Connor Hellebuck, who literally, he played lights out all the games, and especially that last game. All right. So now the other thing I'll say is this. All right. If Team USA had lost, they'd have been gracious losers. All right. They'd have said, we got beat by a better team. Congratulations to Canada. Okay. But what you're hearing from a lot of the Canadian players is the exact opposite, that we deserve to win that game, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, look, here's the bottom line on this, guys. All right. You failed, and you had multiple opportunities to do it, and you didn't do it. And also, too, on the play where they ended up scoring in overtime, Connor McDavid did not rush up to play defense because it's a 3-on-3, which it's really exciting, but you have to be really on your toes and really help your goaltender out. He was nowhere in sight. He was still back in the offensive zone by the time the goal went in the back of the net. Puck went in the back of the net. So
you said he was MVP.
And he was MVP. Yeah, exactly. So that's all I got for that. So any closing remarks here, Ron?
No. I mean, of course, Jay Bird pointed out we're getting ready for the State of the Union here, and we sort of gave the State of the Union for drones tonight, as far as lawsuits and what's coming out next, as far as DJI. So we kind of gave our State of the Union, right, Bill?
Exactly, exactly. And I think there's some hope finally. Do not don't throw this away, guys. Okay, this is something that's going to be around for a little bit, and hopefully this will make a difference for us. So cross your fingers and say a lot of prayers on this one, because if we get before the right judge and the right court, that it's going to make all the difference in the world.
Bill, one closing, maybe controversial. Do you think that for the American drone makers to succeed, they need DJI out of the picture? Is it impossible for them to coexist in the same marketplace with DJI?
That's a great possibility, Ron. And I think here, if this does come, and let's say DJI gets a favorable ruling from this judge, okay, and American companies do get drones made, all right. As we've said before, and we've said it on Drone Nation, we've said it here. Johnny and Ray have said it on their shows, and Bill Thomas and everybody. Competition is so good, okay, because it forces each company to be better and to do better, all right? So if DJI has an actual competitor here in the United States, it'll force DJI to be better. And in turn, that company will force itself to be better and try to make better products, all right? Because as it stands, and we've said this before, and you've said it, I've said it, everybody else has said it, it's going to take years, not months. It's going to take years before any company here in the United States can even reach up to the quality of, say, like a Mini 5 Pro, all right? It's going to take years for that, all right? It's going to take a lot of technology, a lot of hard work, and a lot of effort. So, these U.S. companies have it cut out for themselves in order to do something like that.
And we know we live in a marketplace where Ford and GM survive real well with Toyota and Honda, whatever, right?
Exactly. Okay. Exactly. And
nobody's putting anybody else out of business,
and what ended up happening, okay? And you brought up a really good point, and I'm going to kind of close with this here, is, back in the 80s, probably 90s, probably late 80s here, okay? Honda and Toyota were making a great impact in terms of automobile sales, but yet they were still all made over in Japan, all right? Well, their push came to shove, and I remember an instance here where Honda had, their vehicles were being imported, and the ones that we got in Ohio came through Chicago, all right? And there was a strike on for transit workers. So I remember at this one dealership, they had employees driving to Chicago, they would fly them up to Chicago and drive Hondas back off the truck, literally, okay? And then all of a sudden, there was news and rumblings, and there was a place called Marysville, Ohio. It has Honda has two auto manufacturing facilities up there. They're huge. I actually had a tour of one of them. Incredibly impressive. And not that far north, they have a proving grounds. And in another part of the state, they make engines for Hondas there as well too. And we all know Toyota has a plant in San Antonio that makes Tundras. They have a plant in Kentucky that makes vehicles as well. It has done nothing but bolster the economy, and just and it's made each one better. It's made the domestic car companies better to try to catch up to them. Okay, and the quality, a lot of the domestic car companies is finally at the point where you can say, it may be approaching that of Toyota and Honda. I mean, they really do a decent job. So it's good here. So in other words, the bottom line is, we get another company in here. Let's say they go ahead and the judge says, well, you know what? We'll go ahead. We'll rule in favor of you, but you gotta do a manufacturing facility here in the United States just to prove blah, blah, blah. I'm just throwing this out there. Okay. This isn't even legal speak, but let's say they do something like that. That's going to be great for everybody. So any closing thoughts?
We all want to make drones in America, DJI, to get around us, but I don't think they sell enough units. Like with cars, they sell enough cars to make that make it worthwhile having a plant here. But I don't know if DJI sells enough drones in America that make it worthwhile filling plants here. Just my take on that or whatever.
That's absolutely. So any other thoughts here, Ron, before we wrap things up?
No, again, just that I don't get much flying these days, Bill, because of the weather. But hopefully, I'll be in Florida around the 15th of March. So make sure that weather board is back up by the middle of March, Bill.
I'm working on it, Ron. I really am, because I couldn't go out flying the past couple of weekends because of weather myself. So, it's been, that's why I'm kind of itchy to get out there. I mean, I work long work weeks, and, there's never enough time for me to get out after work because it's mostly dark by then. So,
and I know how that is. Probably when you're working, you have beautiful weather, but when you're off, then the weather goes to crap.
Yeah. Saturday and Sunday, it's been like that. So, guys, thanks so much. Appreciate all your wonderful comments in the chat. As always, guys, remember, it's a great day to fly. Take care, everybody. Have a great rest of your week.
Good night.